We are Makilala TV, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino-American life.
The brown woman in scrubs with a smiling face. That's how some American patients speak of the Filipino nurse who treated them in hospitals. They speak gently and in good English. They are competent and compassionate, and they smile generously. It's not a fake smile, it's a smile that comes from within. Filipino nurses are known for being friendly, patient, and compassionate. They work effectively with all kinds of nationalities. It is said that there is a nurse in every Filipino-American family. And if your child is looking for a career, nursing is usually recommended by a family member because your auntie is a nurse, she can find you a job. For the last 50 years, Filipinos make up 1/3 of all foreign-born nurses in the US. But here's the conundrum. There is a shortage of nurses in the Philippines, and yet our nurses would rather work abroad. Our guest today will make sense of what makes Filipino nurses sought after around the world. Dr. Dely Go is a nurse educator and entrepreneur. She's the founder of Nursing Network, a staffing enterprise in New Jersey. She knows the Filipino nurse story. Dr. Leo-Felix Jurado is the founding dean and professor of the Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. He's a thoughtful mentor and probably one of the first male nurses in our community. For personal and health reasons, Rochelle Ocampo and Jen Fuhrer cannot be with us today, but we have invited friends of Makilala to join us. Ayesha Vera-Yu is the CEO and co-founder of artsolves.org that solves hunger for good with farmers and fisher folks in the Philippines. Patricia Dinglasan is a comedian and very popular in the stand-up circuit of New York. She's the founder of Banana Ketchup, a comedy show with Filipino flavor. She has done some jokes about the Filipino nurses, but we'll have to hear it from her. Welcome to the show, everyone. Dr. Dely, let's begin with you. You have brought in hundreds, probably thousands of Filipino nurses to the US. What do they tell you about why they want to work abroad?
Well, number one, they want to be with other Filipinos here to experience what is really America, right? That's, I think, everybody's dream to be here.
Yeah.
But for nurses, really, because the salary there is not really,
commensurate.
Yeah. It's it's a big gap. It's a big, so here they could earn like maybe $40 per hour, whereas in the Philippines is, I don't know. So that's why a lot of people are calling me, can you petition me? I want to help my family. My parents are now broke because, we sold the Carabao, so that way we'll be able to go to school to take nursing, because nursing is really, there's so many work. There's so many jobs here for nurses. So that's why, majority of them are saying that I took nursing because I want to help my family. I want to help my younger siblings, so that way my parents will be able to rest as well. So that's mainly the main reason.
Dr. Leo, you are probably one of the first male nurses, right? When you were starting out, making you a pioneer. So did you really want to be a nurse?
I'm pretty sure there are many more male nurses earlier, but there were less number of male nurses. And never in my radar to become a nurse.
Oh, really?
Growing up, I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor.
Oh, it's still in the healthcare field,
Yep,
right?
a preacher or a teacher.
A preacher.
So yeah, and I thought that medical doctor may not be in my horizon at that time because the money wasn't there from my parents. So growing up, during my high school, my last year in high school, my aunt, you were telling your auntie.
Yeah, that's right.
My aunt from California, who was a nurse, she's now, gone to heaven. She wrote me a letter my senior high school, and she said, if you would like to become a nurse, I'll send you to school.
Oh.
So I thought, this is a good prep for medical education, because that's basically some doctors take nursing before they become medical doctors. So I said, you know what? I'll take up nursing. I will have 4 years paid, and maybe I could go to medical school.
But you didn't go to medical school.
Because right after graduation, the university where I graduated from hired me as a professor already. So
you did not practice as a nurse? You began to
when I
teach?
came here a little bit, when I came to
okay.
the U.S., I practiced a little bit for, I believe, 4 years,
Okay.
and then went back to education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ayesha, you have a question?
Yes, I do. There's a couple of follow-ups. So one is when you practiced a little bit as a nurse, did you go, okay, I want to go back to preaching and maybe teaching, because teaching is closer to preaching? Because I have cousins who are nurses. I've been a caregiver to, my parents in hospitals, and nursing, I think, is one of the toughest jobs.
Oh, yeah.
So when you got a flavor of nursing, what did you think of it, and what made you go, you know what, I want to teach it, I want to train instead of practice?
Yeah, well, you know what, while practicing, I've always wanted to teach because I already experienced teaching nursing. So I said, okay, what would be my opportunity to teach nursing in the United States? So I went back to school right after I arrived here. I arrived here November of '88. Right after that, I was at NYU taking my second master's, because that's basically the qualification to teach as a nurse. So right after graduation, I just put my application out there, and I got into my first job as a faculty member. And since then, I've always been in higher education.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patricia?
Both of you have so much experience in nursing, and you're such an inspiration to our community. Just for the Filipino nurses that you mentioned who still want to come to the States or abroad, is there advice or certain questions you would always advise them to ask so that when they travel abroad, they're safe, they're cared for, they know what to expect?
Yeah, so before coming here, I would orient them, to what to expect here, so that there will be no cultural shock. Because it's shocking, what we use there as machines or instruments is completely different here. So I kind of orient them before coming here, and telling them also the culture here, how the doctors or co-workers will be treating them. Number one is our pronunciation. I have a nurse kaupektate, doctor.
Yeah.
my
Regional accent, okay.
Kaupektate. So the doctor said, what is that? So she said, it's my patient has brum brum brum, right? Meaning diarrhea.
Why don't they just say? Why don't they just say diarrhea?
Well,
It's a
yeah,
medical
I think-
setting anyway, right?
I know, but there are some though who cannot just express.
Okay.
So that's one of the difficulties we have when we first come here. So that's why I try to orient them, try to be very specific. Use your medical terms so that way you will not embarrass yourself, and so the doctor will also understand you. Because there are so many kinds of doctors here: Indian, Chinese, Japanese. And if you're not speaking correctly, they will misunderstood you, and then they will probably give you a wrong orders. Or
Doc Dely, can you tell us why you founded Nursing Network and how? You remember I attended your birthday party and you said something about the exploitation. You came face to face with a group of nurses who were exploited, and then you helped them. And that's the beginning, I think, of Nursing Network, right?
Yes. So there are just so many, being discriminated or exploited when they come here. Actually, they were promised in the Philippines that they will come here, the blah, blah, blah. And when they come here, actually, it's not what being told to them. Like, for example, they sign a contract there, like $37 per hour, but yet when they receive their first check, it's only $17 per hour.
Oh, okay.
So that's a $20 difference. You know,
Yeah.
that's a big gap. So that's why, I feel bad for those nurses, and when they call me, I have no choice but to see them
Yeah.
because they need help. You know, it's so sad to see them. You know, there's no money, because you know what they do in the Philippines,
Yeah.
right? So they come here thinking that they have job, that they have food, that they have, but yet when they come here, the one who recruited them could no longer be found.
Yeah.
Their telephone
Right.
had been disconnected, and so that's why it's a shame, and that's when I usually come in, call Dely Go. Call Dely Go.
I just have one quick follow-up. When you see a nurse applicant, can you tell right away if she's cut out to be a nurse? Just by talking to her, she's cut out to be a nurse. She can be a good nurse.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yes, of course. We're trained to have that emotional intelligence,
Okay.
critical thinking as a nurse. I always utilize that, and we have this empirical knowledge, right? Aesthetical knowledge, ethical knowledge, personal knowledge, very important personal knowledge, and then emancipatory knowledge that we learn, and we need to utilize that. And I utilize that in my dealings with my nurses,
yeah.
big boss of the hospitals, owners of the facility. So I use all those knowledge
Yeah.
in my dealings with all of them. So I can immediately see you, by just looking at you, your
You can
face.
tell.
Yeah,
I
she
can
can
tell.
You can tell.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so-
You tell with like energy, a sense of energy, or the questions that they ask you. Like how can you tell?
Maybe the way they speak, right?
the way
That's
they
one-
speak,
one
and
reason.
the
One
eye
of them.
expression,
Oh,
the movement of the lips, and their emotions, and so
Yeah.
we were trained as nurses to do
Yeah.
that,
Right.
like therapeutic communications.
Yeah.
How are you gonna notice whether that is a good nurse or not, and based on your questions also you trick them,
Oh.
because nurse is not only theory
Right.
but practice as well,
Yeah.
whether they know their procedures or not.
Mhm.
So usually I'm very strict with that. And attitude
That's
is
right.
Yeah.
that's
number
right,
one,
yeah.
because that is our trademark as Filipino
Mm-hmm.
Right.
nurses,
So what attitude do you look for? What characteristic do you look for?
like soft spoken, like
Yeah.
loving, caring, compassionate, and they look at you on your eyes and
Eyes.
sincere,
Sincerity,
and,
yeah.
sincerity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so if they look at you like like that, sorry, I'm not gonna tell you. You
Yeah.
cannot be, because as a nurse, you're solving your own problem, right? Your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet when you are in the job, you are solving the problem of your 10
Tell-
patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't have those, knowledge, and you're not utilizing,
Yeah.
then you're not effective.
That's right.
You are not practicing quality and safe patient care.
Yeah, I think we're all sitting up a little bit straighter now
I
after
know,
Dr.
right?
Dely
Yeah.
I know,
has
right?
said that.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have advice for people just starting to go into nursing? What due diligence do they have to do to feel safe when they travel abroad, signing contracts?
Oh,
et cetera?
yes. Yeah. Pretty much, in addition to acculturation, the Dr. Go mentioned, they really need to know their employers. They need to know where's the location of that employment. Because are they going to a safe neighborhood? What kind of, they could even review, the employment's history, employer's history. So pretty much they need to look at the document that they're signing. A lot of people sometimes are just rushing to go to the U.S. because they want to get here. But it's important for them to really look at the documents that they're signing. As I've mentioned, the employer, and they need to participate in the pre-departure orientation that's offered by the agencies in the Philippines. So, we have provided that in the Philippine Nurses Association of America in terms of those types of orientation, so that our nurses are well informed when they come to the United States. Yeah.
Is it true that there is a big demand for Filipino nurses who are already managers in the Philippines and who have advanced studies in nursing? Unlike before in the 70s or 60s, you're out of college and you're already being hired here, right?
Yeah.
So what's causing that shift in hiring?
Well, because management is number one, right? So we are a very diverse culture here, right? We have Filipino, Hispanic, so we are already a diverse culture, in the Philippines. Remember, we have seven
different,
island,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
we are,
yeah.
with Spanish and blah blah blah. So that's why and now the demand is, the demand for higher education is because there are so many
be-
students here
To be
who-
competitive, maybe.
very
yeah.
competitive, yeah. So with your management acumen, or so you can deal more better for whatever bigger problem here. So that's why I would rather hire someone who has already master in nursing in the Philippines, because rather than the newly graduate, then I still have to orient them with masteral background, and it's easier for them to really
Ayesha?
Yeah, I want to ask maybe a very, very topical question right now, especially after the pandemic, where we've really tested our healthcare system, and the brunt of that was taken up by nurses, right? Because and doctors, given the flow and just the emotional baggage. Because like what you were saying, nurses don't just provide the care; they're really also caring for the emotional health of that. But I feel like all of our nurses right now are just overworked, underpaid, and unappreciated.
Yes.
That's my feeling when I go into the hospital. Is that true? And so that's part A. The part B is how can we make nursing to be sustainable? How can we make it joyful for the nurses, because they really are the backbone of our society.
Let me just do a quick follow-up.
Sorry.
Are the nurses really underpaid?
They are.
Yes.
Really?
They are.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Based on the workload that they're
are.
doing now.
That's right. Yeah.
With the shortage of nurses right now, if someone call out, right?
Yeah.
They're not being replaced.
Yeah.
Okay, just like my nurses, right? Because they're agency. Okay, once you're done in that unit, you can go to the other unit. Where is the risk is too high.
Yeah.
Because just one error,
Yeah.
you're gonna kill your patient,
Yeah.
right? So you're going from one place to the other. So majority of them are like, I want to leave Delhi. I want to goodbye. I want to just
Really, yeah.
I said, please
Too
don't
much
do
pressure,
that.
yeah.
Because once you leave the unit, then that's abandonment of your patients.
Oh,
All right. So then you're gonna lose your license, or you're gonna be suspended. So stay there, do whatever you can, and if you have any problem, call me. Maybe I can talk to the supervisor. But yet the supervisor also doing the floor, pushing the cart and giving medications. That's how it is now.
Yeah.
So I feel so bad for the nurses, especially during COVID time. My heart, I don't sleep, because the husband said, Dely, where's my wife?
Yeah.
Let her go home now. I haven't seen her for 3 days now.
Like it's your decision, right?
It's like, I said, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry, but it's better for her to stay there rather than going home, and she might be bringing the germs with you and your children, and then you pacify them. This is what you're gonna do. So just be with your children. But when the child calls me, where is my mommy? Let her go home.
Oh my God, you
Then
get
what-
those kinds of calls, huh?
Yeah.
So how are you gonna do it? How are you gonna help them? So you oh, hi honey, mommy is blah blah blah. Just do whatever you can to pacify them.
Yeah.
How do the nurses organize to protect themselves? Like, is it at a hospital level? Are there unions? How is it organized?
Oh, I mean, their hospitals basically provide those safety precautions for nurses. That's why during the pandemic, they provided some housing, like in hotels, where they could stay there rather than going home to a place that's crowded, especially to those nurses that really have multiple family members. So they were able to provide those accommodations as well. So
But there is also a nursing, there's also a
association. Yes, definitely. We did a
there's an
lot.
association for nurses.
There's a union.
Also
There's
a
a
union for
nurses,
nurses.
right? Yeah.
So there is that organization, but you know, I have a niece who, like what you said, like who just came to Georgia, and I told her to do exactly everything that you presented here, which is read your contract, due diligence, do all of that. But I also have a sister-in-law and her entire, you know, her family of nurses. So I understand that the current nursing situation is really not sustainable, and we really have to solve that. One, for our kababayans, right? Because otherwise, this is a very loose form of, you know, getting stuck of slavery if they can't leave the job because they have to provide for their family back home, but they're being driven to sickness and to just burnout.
Yes.
You know.
So safe staffing models probably would be a good answer to that. Safe staffing models wherein there's enough nurses for the number of patients, which is usually based on patient acuity, how acute your patients are, which should be the basis of how you staff. But as a result of the shortage, you cannot always follow that. But again, back to the shortage. So it's important for, particularly in the U.S., to grow their nurses as well.
So
not only
to
expecting
invest
from the Philippines.
Yeah, to invest in education.
So how many nurses, how many patients can a nurse adequately handle?
Varies from, you know, different units. Like if you're in intensive care unit, you may have 2 patients. In the med-surg unit, you may have 4, 5, 6, 7 patients in some hospitals, or even higher. That type of thing. So it depends on the unit and the acuity of those patients. That's the basis of staffing. Yeah.
And
so go ahead.
And we've seen it where, because my mom has been in ICU and you know, she's had medical issues. We've seen it where it's one nurse at a step-down unit for like 9 or 10.
That's
insane,
unsafe.
and
That's
that's
big,
big.
right?
That's the current situation that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
And the nurses, like you said, are calling you saying, "Hey, I can't do this anymore." And so, what would you say if there are leaders that are listening to this, whether it's the mayor, whether it's the president, like how can we best support nurses? And how many, like, what's the right staffing ratio to make it sustainable? Because if we don't solve it now, we're gonna lose more nurses, and no one's gonna want to go into it.
Yeah, right now there is a staffing ratio in California and in Massachusetts, but other states has not yet. You know.
Oh, really? We don't have it in New York.
We don't have yet. So, but they are really trying to look into that now because of so many complain. And it's not really safe for the nurses as well. You know, they have to protect us because it's already short. There's already shortage of nurses. How much more if many of the nurses will just leave the profession, and some of them will just die.
We're actually reading a trend where nurses are quitting.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Many of my nurses just quit. You know, during pandemic, Dely, I think I had served more than enough. You know, I'm already 70 plus. I gotta go. You know, I could no longer take it. But I said, please. You know, but there are some nurses also who called me, Dely, you need some help, so that way some of your nurses can just go home and, you know, take a rest. There are those also. You know, so it's a mix. But there are some probably many reasons that, you know, nurses want to leave nursing. You know, they want to enjoy life too. You
That's
know,
right.
they have children, they have family to think about. You know, so
we lost a lot of nurses during COVID, right?
Yes.
Do you have the number?
Yes.
How many people did we lose? How many nurses?
It's pretty much around 245, I believe, was the last count that I saw.
245?
245, and roughly a third of that are
Is that
Filipino
in
nurses.
New York?
In the United States.
Oh, in the United States.
245, and roughly 30% of that. 30% of that are Filipino nurses.
So that was overrepresented.
It's
in the-
overrepresented in terms of COVID mortality because we only consist of less than 4% of the entire nurses, Filipino nurses in the U.S. So
and I have one nurse who passed, and it's very, very sad. The mother just arrived, and then a few weeks later on, he died, Danny Bolima.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the mother could not even hug him, or he was just in the glass window.
Oh my
very
God.
very sad,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was cremated
Yeah.
because he's not allowed, the body is not allowed to come out of the unit, and the mother was just, after so many years of waiting, and now she's here, and then not able to
Yeah.
even just hold his hand, and
Yeah.
so
Is
it
this
was
from
re-
COVID?
This is
Ah, okay.
COVID,
Yeah.
yeah. So
But nurses are generally speaking, well-paid professionals, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't go into nursing, right? Essentially.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that. I don't
It
think
is-
they're
it is-
paid enough.
it is
Depends on the quality of
debatable.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's debatable.
It is debatable how
Okay.
you
Yeah.
see it. Obviously, if we compare what we make in the Philippines, like
Yeah.
we were speaking earlier,
Yeah.
and then what we make here is completely different. Or
Different, okay.
many other workers, nursing is a great option for many, even those who are born here, because of the promise of a job.
Yes.
You could bring that job anywhere you go, very
Yeah,
portable.
that's
You
right.
could go from state to state or even country to country. You will always have a job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have a follow-up.
Quick question.
Yeah. Of course.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I wanted to. So
I'm just looking at the
both
time,
of you
go ahead.
have had like very successful careers in nursing in this country, and now we're at a point where a lot of Filipinos are raising their kids in America, and I wanted to know, like, if you had a niece or nephew or your children did not want to go into nursing, wanted to do something more creative, or like Ayesha went from banking.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Ladies and Dr. Leo, I'm so sorry. But our time is running short.
Oh no!
I know, it
There's
always
no
happens. We can
Would
continue
love to share
after.
more.
Filipino nurses are a source of wonderful, inspiring stories.
thank you.
We would like to thank our esteemed guests, Dr. Dely Go, Dr. Leo-Felix Jurado. Ayesha, thank you for your questions. And Patricia,
Thank you for
you
having
have to crack that Filipino-American joke.
Okay.
And before we close that Philam nurse joke, let me just say how proud we are to have our nurses represent us as a community and how they have helped improve the lives of countless patients. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Maraming salamat. Thank you.
Makilala TV.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing our stories.
Yeah.
Yes.